What's up, everybody? It's Alan the Kraken, and today, I found out that maybe 30 minutes after I posted my video yesterday, Metazoo came out with this post in response to my video. They said this past month, Metazoo is number 4 in terms of total volume of products sold on eBay. I reckon in terms of total cash sold on eBay, we are most likely tied with number 3 this month. That is absolutely false information. That lessens. I will concede that these sold listings and active listings are 100% real that he is asserting here. And from my estimation, we think that he was using watchcount.com to get his market data from eBay through their API. Um, so let's talk about this, okay? So you have TCG Player, who is a player focused company, and they're saying that Flesh and Blood is like doing astronomically well within their platform, and you have like Metazoo, who is like towards number 8 or not even like a blip on their radar. Now, these numbers here are accurate, but not for the reason that you may think. The 23,778 Metazoo sold listings includes merchandise. Okay. Today we're going to talk about label slapping. In the early Star Wars years, Kenner Toys and George Lucas came up with a royalty agreement of like 2.5% for George Lucas. George didn't want to give up any like details of his company or his movies that he was making, and Kenner Toys was just like left with like a couple of like sketches of like concept ideas and a few things that were spoiled to them that they could like go off of. Okay, and Kenner Toys, they had about like I think it was like a 9 month window in order to get the concepts, get it through design, and make toys as fast as possible within a 9 month period, which is like impossible in the toy industry because you have to you have to think about like safety. You have to think about like, hey, are these parts gonna choke children? Is this gonna poke an eye out? Are there gonna be sharp modeling points within the product? What age group should we put this in? Um, like, is the art correct? Is it politically correct for the time that it was in the 70s and 80s? Um, was just like, were all of like the industry standards followed? And it's a long, long, grueling design process. I don't know if you guys have ever designed toys before, but they go through like checks and balances between designers, between manufacturers to make sure manufacturers can even do what they want to do. Um, so ultimately, Kenner Toys was left with this like 9 month period to put out Star Wars product, which was impossible in the industry at that time. So one of the tools that toy companies have in their arsenal is called label slapping. Please Google label slapping if you are unfamiliar with what this term is, but I'll go ahead and briefly explain it. It basically says like, hey, we have generic toys and we can put any label we want on them. And that's what happened with early Metazoo is Mike Waddell understood the power of merchandise. It's something that Flesh and Blood hasn't even touched. Um, and the merchandise that Flesh and Blood does hand out, it's given out for free through promotional avenues, and those like talk about play mats and stuff like that. Play mats generally have value in Flesh and Blood too, and that's not and Metazoo generally doesn't have value in their merchandise at all. You have Metazoo shirts, you have Metazoo pins, you have Metazoo coins, you have Metazoo posters, you have Metazoo graphic novels. Okay, they're not comic books, guys. Those little booklets that are out that they have book art on them are not comic books. It is mostly words with like zero pictures. The storyline was ugh. It was kind of cringe and thrown together. Um, you have like Debrews t-shirts. You have different like collab products through like Kitchen Table TCG. Like even their mats that were not made by Metazoo are included in the sold listings. Okay, so if Metazoo sold 3 to 10,000 pins, it's gonna show up in the sold listings here. It's going to show up for kitchen table TCG playmats. It's going to show up in here. If it was like any other prosumer, it's going to show up in these sold listings. Now, I will say that Metazoo's product reach is greater than Flesh and Blood, but Flesh and Blood hasn't even started merchandising. Metazoo was able to merchandise as quickly as they could because they could slap files and slap labels onto mugs, t-shirts, everything under the sun that's Chinese made and fluff up their numbers through merchandise sales. And as a like an investor or maybe even like an investment bank that sees this, they know to disclude or sorry, they know to exclude merchandise sales because they want to see what the main source of the product IP is, whether it's a movie, whether it's a card game, whether it's a toy, whether it's a comic book. They want to know the source of the IP. Where is the fandom? And the fandom is in trading cards. So if we have like 10 to 15,000 in Metazoo sales, that's all merchandise. You're left with a number that's probably closer to like 8,000 to 13,000 um, sold listings that are actually trading cards. Okay. So, in that regard, on eBay, that would put my estimates to be tied with Flesh and Blood on eBay, with Flesh and Blood absolutely destroying Metazoo in the TCG Player platform, which players go to. It's called TCG Player. They make it very easy for people to mass entry decks and buy within a couple clicks. Okay. And that's something that eBay can't do. eBay, you have to go through and then you have to talk with sellers to make sure that they ship. And then you have to make sure that they actually deliver. And then you have to make sure that you're not scammed by getting a counterfeit card or maybe even like a real card that's a counterfeit from China. So that's where I'm going to leave this label slapping video at. You all have a wonderful day. Remember to have fun and peace.